Hello everyone, greetings. This is from the Situation Room, announcing as well the situation, and I'm going to go deeper into my discussion and confrontation. And then it's blackness of darkness, gloom of darkness, holiday season, living and functioning in a perpetual blackness of darkness of mass outside of church as a practicing Roman Catholic in good standing, in support of the whiteness of lightness worship we do in church in parallel. Okay? It's basically a warfare holiday spirit season against that which is not universally accepted. Okay? Basically, stating rape and violations. Okay? So I'm going to deal with this first. I'm going to read the word. This is a word that I've only heard literally and extremely strong in my researches and reconnaissance in fundamentalist circles, though I'm not one, as you know, but because of its at least apparent defense of sound doctrine and its principle. The word declension, I'm going to use it because it's something never even used in media, and I'm going to discuss it. It's a word that has a lot of topside meanings that caused it not to be used in common English, but its lesser meaning, like this entire topside meaning, is not what we're getting into. I probably could, but it would be a deeper form of a tic-tac-toe of a puzzle. But when you go into the figurative, because it goes to downward movement, then it goes into figurative, declension. And they're talking about moral decline, mental decline, attitude decline. Just like a house getting worse and worse because you're not taking care of it. Then it starts falling apart. Okay, and the neighborhood goes down. Okay, property value, your car not being taken up, your body not being taken up. Declension literally relates to that in the church. It deals with people not keeping up on what they're supposed to do. And because fundamentalists, by and large, are legalists, I am still disowning them as I speak. But this term I'm owning as a Catholic libertine liberal, and more so as myself. Okay, now I'm going to read what I'm talking about because this is what I see, and then I'm going to go into a deeper, different definition relating it to concerns about the sexes, the war between the sexes, and also the difference between the sexes and Harmaphroditism, okay? The war that the male initiated in heaven against the female that has never ended, has gone on for tens of trillions of years, okay? And I'm going to blame you males specifically, and I'm going to mention, as I said, in my ancient incarnations, my ancient original brother and absolute adversary Aries, okay? I called King Pederast. I'll read it. A downward movement, bend, or slope. The declension of the sun toward the west. So that's it's in terms of like the sun going down on us. Yes. Incline, declination, declivity, dip. Figurative, a sinking into a lower or inferior condition. The woman, the Aphrodite. And the problem is, where the women go, we all go. Okay. They're still our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, our girlfriends, our lovers. So that is the big problem with Harmaphroditism. It's a meter of where we are. You can't avoid what goes on with women happens to us. A big reason why it's not good to be malevolent toward them. Okay? You should not have to ever want to do anything but be completely constructive and nurturing, as the Bible describes a husband toward women in general, like a husbandman who nurtures the garden and prunes it, gives it the final soul and the sunlight to make sure it grows like it the best environment to grow and flourish, which is what you're supposed to do to every human being. Okay? To lack is called scripturally astorge, without natural affection. And that's the biggest problem we have on our planet. That lack of willingness to just have things good for all humans. Once again, figurative, a turning away from one's own religion, faith, or other beliefs, which again, apostasy. And I'm going to mention here the failure and apostasy of fundamentalism, the pot calling the kettle black, is because they're legalist, and knowing the history of them, many of them are demoniacs and are the super religious, legalistic side of the apostate, and also as well extremely Hermaphroditism. They just use perversion and heretical perversions of Christianity to promote Harmaphroditism, which causes it to grow into wanton open evil. And many of them are very much so schizoid, oscillating, and disgraceful people. I'm just letting you know. I've seen it, it's a toxic religion. Okay, but I'm taking this word from them as a blessing. The Lord thy God is turning this curse into a blessing unto us because he loves us. Once again, here it is. Deviation from a standard, defection, a polite refusal. Okay, perhaps Old French, declination, learned borrowing from declinatio, onus, decliner, see etium, under decline. Okay, so now after that definition, this official definition, and I used this World Book Dictionary. It's an older dictionary, but that's a nice, long, detailed definition. I'm going to read this. The demoniac, Harmaphrodite, chauvinistic, Aryan spirits, influence, dominance of white American and European thought, a less different female and male, which is exactly what we all have discussed, and it's very well known about European attitudes towards black women that were of Valkyrian and more like the divine Shaddai goddesses that were heavenly, that they were made and treated like elephant men, and worse yet, lusted after more and just as despised and hated. Like I said, this schizoid, malevolent attitude, which is of Aryan and demoniac mentality. Okay? This is the problem. And as I said, this is in support and backing up, explaining my post earlier, to talking about why we have this prominence of women on the internet that, with few exceptions, are underdeveloped and overexposed, which shows a lack of alpha females being allowed in, and then the ones that are being exploited and feasted on to the point where they're this is if you're not willing to be a victim of perpetual incubus, you can't be a star in America. We'll just as the scripture says, we're in Sodom and Egypt, literally in the spirit. So as in that mindset, they'll tell these women, and I've seen it, it's happened to both my wives and many of the girls I know and dated as well, will do worse with you than the ones that are superstars because you won't cooperate. And I've lived through it myself. This is your spiritual attitude in America towards your own people. Absolute malevolence. And undue what we call being real extra about things, drama. And upset your government and then two-faced about it. Okay, but here we go. Like with Sandra Bland, I'm going to bring up again. A less different male and female. Europeans are notorious for that attitude. It's an Aryan trait. As I told you before, the Harmaphrodites, the 200 angels listed and stated of in Enoch, from Sanjaya, who hijacked Hinduism, to Arius, who hijacked Christianity, to serpents, all these evil spirits, to Kokabil, Donald Trump, Tariel, David Duke, all these perennial reincarnate demoniacs, including Xi Jinping, or Akifa, all of them, all malevolent toward women, hated the extreme difference between male and female. In the beginning, as God said, it was not so. In the celestial and in the real, women were far more endowed, busty, shape, and their extreme shape and appearance made male and female what it was. The contrast, it was vive la difference. The spirit of the Aryan and the Hermaphrodite and the demoniac despises the difference. Women are forced to live under and reshaped unto a diminished type of feminism that is more masculine, the more like a drag queen, okay? Something that seems attainable to a man through a sex change or Fortran, so that if I become, say, a Pow Stop Levy boy, I can fit right in with the most busty and built women, as if everything ultimately is suited around the male. That women literally is servile in a way that the Bible doesn't tell you. Like the scripture said, yes, man was not created for woman for man, and they take it somewhere to the point where Christian men are like, don't look, we're not even talking about that scripture now, because y'all Hermaphrodites and you malevolent women haters and chauvinists take those scripture verses places it's not supposed to go to the point where we literally throw it out the fucking window. And we throw out the baby with the bathwater, because like, you know what, you're not even in the mix, okay? Because what you're talking about isn't service, it's malevolence, okay? Because you can't have a woman serving you when you're not willing to accept her as the female she is, and respect her and submit to her and get submission back. The entire context is based on taking and not getting from, okay? Greed, acting as though you were the Lord, Okay, so black women, when they were brought up from Africa, because they were well endowed and extremely different from males and the males as well, like they look like their celestial counterparts, the Shaddai goddesses, were treated like the elephant man, and white women get treated the same way. They're objects of derision, and as I discussed before, dealing with Scarlett Johansson, talking about how y'all treat women that are well endowed like women would have missile tits. Tiny waist. Those kind of white women you see now in pinups almost don't exist. You don't see them no more because y'all been eating them alive. And it's been the white male who dominates, who clisters her off like she's a fucking calf in a stall so she can't move unless she's being used by him, and then goes to slaughter. This is what we see. We black dudes don't we don't come a million miles to these women. These kind of white men women don't even exist no more. The black women do. Okay, but that's how all women were built. All males and females were created equal. In the beginning, God created all the races, from the blackest to the whitest, all had an equal amount of alpha male and female, and we were all that way. Diminished and lesser was a result of attacks, malevolence, and demonic apostasy by the males, and you can blame the male angels, that blame is on them forever. The entire event, every female siren and apostate female angel was forced under by rape and by things like the sorcerer's rod that would completely make a woman, female angel, even the Shaddai goddess, submit immediately when misused. This is known, okay? So this is the problem, and this is what I'm talking about. This hatred of women, the war on women, as the women have all discussed, and as a male looking at it, feminist, and I call myself more chivalrous as well, chivalrian, my ancient birthright as well, we see this malevolence continuing to pinnacle in this violent feasting frenzy on the feminine because of evil, malevolent males who want to put on this projecting of machismo, but it's malevolence. Okay? Your manhood is hate. Manhood, and so once again, because you insist as dominant people in a culture that maleness and hatefulness are one and the same, then we're just getting emasculated by the woman in response, okay? Everything is cast because of a failure to represent maleness correctly according to the standard which you were all created yourselves, okay? Because you're living in this malevolent, pretentious rape culture, female hate, and then constantly using your power as rulers to blame oppressed peoples like black males like me, and putting us in the position to be burnt offerings, sacrificial lambs, whipping boys, rams in the thicket, punching bags, catharsis for your sin and your entire being, as if that's, as I said, that's the only thing the black man's here for. And so the black man, if he doesn't conform, as the song by Rush says, be cool or be cast out. Conform or be cast out. Okay? This is the problem we see, and it's a worldwide problem, Harmaphroditism. Okay? And then by rape, pressure, manipulation, mind control, everyone's being just crammed into this wicked image. And so the angels of evil written of, and they now continue to dominate. And they continue to encroach to the point where we're into something called an eternal mind control state, where it's going to be like a vice grip and no variations are tolerated forever. Okay, it's either our way or the hell way or the highway. Okay, and you're just forced back into the mold like the Amalekite dominates, the Smith. Everyone's either assimilated or like a Neo, you got all of them coming after you 24/7. Okay, this is what America is dealing with these doctrines of demons and seducing spirits. The scripture says, in the latter days some shall depart from their faith. 1 Timothy 4:1-6. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter days some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, in hypocrisy speaking lies, having their conscience branded, seared, cauterized with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, the whole scene of the vetting, which is called AKA institutionalized racism. That's right, separation in America, which is worsened. As I pointed out, interracial couples were far more common in children in the late 60s. There were large mass exterminations, murders, and rapes of interracial couples and separations and brainwashing going on during Nixon's administration since, which it goes against everything the documents claim. So you gave us the Bill of Rights, and then the Civil Rights Act, and behind our back did everything contrary, because your rulers are reincarnate demoniac riffraff, exactly what Sri Krishna described, as I have discussed in full detail in the Bhagavad Gita, the interview with God, by that ancient member of the crux, God, Krishnamurti, chapter 16. And I could go on and on. Okay, 2 Timothy 3. The folly, the creep, and the taking silly women captive, literally mind control, brainwashing, terror flopping. Okay, when you literally just terrify a woman by flopping on top of her and failing on her and calling it love. Okay, when she's literally being tackled in some kind of deceitful way, and it's called falling in love when it's a little mind control rape. Okay, when you're literally rebooting her entire being like a freaking floppy disk just being rewritten. Okay, these are the things we see, and this is the reason why we have this diminished femininity. That even as I said in my lifetime, women's physical attributes have been diminished. And then so the women are being brainwashed to populate. Why? Because your men are ruining them so much that to keep any kind of semblance of dignity or pride, they have to promote this more androgynous mindset because you've crammed it down their throats and then blame them for it. So they take up the mantle of something that in them is not to want. It's them to want different, wholly other, opposite but equal. Okay, the difference between male and female is becoming less and less. And the sad part is it's not because of anything but genuine male, gay, malevolent hate of females and envy to the point where they hate you because they want to be you, then they don't want you to exist. That they want you to literally be assimilated into their manhood because they're such dominant, hateful people. Okay, it's not even a respectful form of homosexuality. Okay, it's rape culture. Okay, to the point where that beautiful woman, the malevolent homosexual, as I said in the beginning, these evil spirits like Alan, who was going to be Eros, hated women because he saw them as rivals to the love of the male divine beings. That's the problem we have. And also, he wanted to be you, and he wanted to strip the female right off of you. He wanted a less feminine female. And then call it femininity, which is what we have in America. The less feminine, because these white black men are raping and incubusing you and drawing their beauty off of you in a sex act and rape the mind control. What's the problem? It's making you less pretty, so you literally have to accept it just because, and then you're being forced to. We're in a cauldron of a vicious cycle, okay? I'm calling out and sounding the alarm from the Situation Room and telling you the facts, okay? That the problem is you're being dominated by a form of demoniac sodomy. I don't even want to call it homosexuality, a rape culture where sex is basically called an act of violence. I said before, it's Mortal Kombat and eternal Mortal Kombat. And you women becoming, and women's beauty, and the difference between male and female is an eternal fatality. And your government, worse yet, promotes the sorrows.